My name is Blitzwinger, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to be discussing Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, as the main protagonist of Avengers 2020, because honestly, I have gotten a lot of messages about this, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. A lot of people have been saying to me, hey bro, what do you think about the fact that they made Ms. Marvel like an unknown hero, the main hero? How ridiculous is this? It's all about PC and blah, 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 blah. So, first and foremost, I'm not going to get into the political side of things and discuss that because, like I always say, that is just simply not something that we discuss here on this channel. It's all about gaming, and that is how it is going to remain. But what I will say and what I would like to do is actually make the case for why I think this is a good thing that Kamala Khan is the actual protagonist, because I genuinely do think that it makes a lot of sense, and I think that the way that they're going about this, it makes sense within the game context, and furthermore, I think that it makes sense in general, just in terms of what they are going to be doing with hopefully this game going into the future, meaning outside of just this main story, going into the DLC expansions and whatever else we might get down the line. And of course, before we get rocking and rolling, I do want to go on ahead and ask you guys to just simply go on ahead and hit that like button. Thank you guys so very much for that. If you can, please consider subscribing. We're getting very, very close to 2 million subs, so I do want to thank you guys for that support as well. And without further ado, let's go on ahead and get rocking and rolling. So first and foremost, I guess let's just run through some of the general information that we have for this particular game. So first of all, of course, the game release is going to be on May 15th of 2020 on the Xbox, PC, PS4, and Google Stadia, which, by the way, I didn't even know that it was coming to the Stadia, so that's kind of an interesting tidbit there. The interesting thing is that we are kind of getting close to the release of this game, of course. We're about, what, 6 months away? So it's going to be here before we know it. But this past Comic-Con, or New York Comic-Con, we got the confirmation that she will be, or Ms. Marvel will be, the driver of the story, and they really did an excellent job of explaining this. So first and foremost, I think that no matter what they would have done with this game, I think you would have had people upset at you had it just been an Avengers game without like a main protagonist like Kamala Khan to drive the story. Why do you think that? Well, I mean, look literally at the reveal of the game. When the game was just revealed, there was maybe a minority, but definitely a very vocal minority who made the case, where the heck is Hawkeye? How could you guys ignore him? This is ridiculous. This is so unfair. Hawkeye is one of the Avengers. Why is he not included in this? Blah, 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 blah. So what does that mean? Well, imagine this game releasing and, oh, well, there's 3 missions where you're focused on Iron Man and only 1 with Captain America. How dare you? Does this mean that Captain America sucks? Blah, 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 blah. I think that it would have been very easy for everyone to just start to get upset about the fact that the character that they like best wasn't showcased in this game. And I think that that's a troublesome thing that you have to deal with at all times when you're doing a team-up game. The benefit of Spider-Man PS4 is that it is just that. Spider-Man PS4. It's focused on Spider-Man and his rogues gallery. You don't really have to worry too much about creating a lot of other characters that all need to play the same and be fun characters and have a lot of cool gameplay and such. Here, the focus was just with Spider-Man, which gives you a lot more liberty to tell a great, compelling story with great gameplay. With Avengers, we're going to have a lot of different characters. You're going to have, of course, the Hulks, Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man, Cap, Kamala Khan, Ant-Man. Look, the list goes on and on and on and on. So because of that, I think that it would have been very challenging for them to tell the story in an interesting way if it was just having to be told from each one of those perspectives and each one of the characters was equally important. By taking a relatively unknown character, and yes, I know people who read the comics are going to be like, well, she's not unknown. She's been quite popular for quite a while now, blah, 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 blah. I get it, but you have to keep in mind that in the vast populace, the character of Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, is not very well known. It's the same thing for Guardians of the Galaxy, or the list goes on in terms of Black Widow. There's a lot of characters that until they were introduced in the cinematic universe, heck, I would even make the case that Iron Man was one of those. Like, a lot of people knew maybe of the name, but to be quite honest, in 2008, unless if you were a Marvel fan, you did not have any clue what the heck Iron Man was about, what was the characteristics, what was the character like, or anything that really was kind of in depth in regards to that character. So that all changed, of course, with the movies taking off, and now it's pretty much a household name, the name of Iron Man. So I think that it's very smart for them to take a character that is relatively unknown in Ms. Marvel and then going on ahead and putting her at the center of this world and telling the story from her being the main protagonist that will drive the narrative, which I think is really cool. So essentially, of course, if you don't know, one of her characteristics in the comics even is that she's truly like a fangirl of superheroes. She just loves superheroes. So it almost works just in the sense that after the events of the game takes place, which of course, if you did not know, there's the A-Day events that we see in the trailer. And of course, after that, the Avengers are all divided after the passing of Captain America, and all of them pretty much quit being superheroes. Furthermore, becoming a superhero and being a superhero is essentially outlawed, and there is the organization of AIM that takes over the, I guess, heroics of the world. So they're basically controlling what's going on and taking care of crime in the world. But at the same time, there's Kamala Khan, who believes that obviously AIM is evil and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, she believes in reassembling, and that's really, I guess, the theme of the game, is reassembling the Avengers. So it's not Avengers Assemble, it's Avengers Reassemble, because they were assembled before and they got torn apart. But now I think that within the context of that story, I think that she's the perfect character, honestly, to bring everybody back together, because I think the idea of using other Avengers to do that, I don't think would feel as cohesive. I think that they were always kind of clashing personalities that came together for the greater good. And I think that it's almost like it would take somebody external to that core team. Like Ms. Marvel, for all we know, she was never a part of the Avengers prior to the events that take place in this game. So because of that, it's really cool that somebody outside the Avengers team, the original one that we see, is there to try to piece them back together and explain to them why they are needed to save the world once more. So I think that in that sense, it's a really compelling way of telling the story, and hopefully it will turn out quite well. Now, I think that the other thing that a lot of people, when they hear this, they kind of jump to conclusions saying like, well, but I don't want to be playing as Ms. Marvel in an Avengers game. I don't want that just to be my only character that I get to play, or maybe even the character that I'm mostly playing. Well, first of all, I really do think that she's possibly going to have the best gameplay in general, just based on the fact that she's got kind of the Stretch Armstrong abilities. So she's pretty much like Mr. Fantastic as far as her abilities are concerned. So I think that it's really cool, just in the sense that when you think about the stretching abilities and the possibility that comes along with that in terms of gameplay, it's really cool. When we compare that to something like Captain America, at the end of the day, he's got a shield and he's going to fight. Like, there's not too much excitement to his, I guess, arsenal of attacks. Whereas with Ms. Marvel, you can really just kind of think of all the possibilities that you have in terms of the fact that you could stretch into different like weapon forms and into different items. It's just a lot of really cool gameplay potential there. So I think that first and foremost, from just a gameplay perspective, she might turn out to be the most fun character to play as. But furthermore, things like, for example, her ultimate heroic ability, which pretty much just makes her ginormous. So she just like grows in size, kind of like Ant-Man, and then she gains all new attacks as a result of that as well. I think just shows cases to you that she's going to be a unique character to play as, and I'm honestly not going to be surprised if when the game comes out, she ends up being the most fun character to play as. I'm not saying that you're not going to have fun with your favorite character. Like if you love the Hulk and you're like, okay, I just want to play as the Hulk, I'm sure he'll be fun to play as well. But I think within the context of gameplay, I think there's a lot more room for variety with a character with the ability set of Ms. Marvel than a Hulk or Thor or Cap and so on and so forth. So The other thing that you have to keep in mind is that, of course, they did confirm that there's going to be two styles of missions in this game, one of which is going to be Warzone missions, and then the other is going to be hero missions. Now, these Warzone missions, that's where you get to completely have fun in the sense of you get to build whatever team you want. I'm assuming probably it will be limited based on the characters you've unlocked. So as you go through the game, I'm sure you'll get more and more characters available for these Warzone missions, but they're basically going to be like side quests where you get to assemble whatever dream team you want within your squadron. So it could be like, okay, I'm going to put together Ms. Marvel, Iron Man, and Black Widow, and we go off on this mission, and it's a co-op mission. Then on another one, you're like Hulk and Hawkeye, or Hulk and Thor working together, which would be pretty hilarious to see. So it just gives you a lot more control over what you want to play as. Now, these Warzone missions, they're not going to really drive the story. That's where the hero missions come in. But even these hero missions, they have confirmed and said that the hero missions will be most of the time told from the perspective of one main character driving that particular mission. But even within that, it does not mean that it is all going to be Kamala Khan. Just because she's the protagonist, it doesn't mean that you won't get to play as other characters like Iron Man and Black Widow and so on and so forth. There's not going to be just a limit of saying, oh, Kamala Khan is the protagonist, so therefore every mission in the game that drives the story is going to be driven by Kamala Khan. That's not the case. They've literally said that it is not going to be the case. Now, I think that we can really truly look to Spider-Man PS4 as an example of that. There's several missions in that game where you play as Miles Morales, where you play as MJ, and you're not playing as Peter Parker or Spider-Man, but yet those missions proceed and tell you the story further. They further the story, they tell you key elements that happen in the story, and those characters, without even superpowers, for all we know, of course, Miles, we later on discovered, does have superpowers, but essentially those missions drive the story and the narrative forward without having you play as the main protagonist. So hopefully the same will apply in Marvel's Avengers. So overall, I genuinely don't see why it's a bad thing that she will be the main character that they've chosen to be the protagonist. I actually think it makes sense within the context of this game, within what they want to do, and the fact that this is not Avengers, the Iron Man game, or Avengers, Hawkeye's Revenge, or something like that. This really is an Avengers game, and therefore it should be a team focus, but I think that it's very cool that they went ahead and chose a relatively unknown character in the big scheme of things to tell this story and be kind of the main driver of the narrative. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the idea of Ms. Marvel being the main character or not? Do you agree or disagree with the points that I made here today? Of course, like I mentioned at the top, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I do indeed hope to catch you guys here next time. Peace out. See you later, alligators. Bye-bye, everyone.